Hey team, Jordan here, and I'm with Aidan. You guys probably have talked to them a little bit in the group as well. So Aidan, he just joined in February, and literally within a month of joining the WLMA, he was able to take the leap, go full time. Even during the coronavirus and quarantine, he was able to book around $10 to $15,000 in sales. So yeah, I'm just gonna dive in this interview, ask him some questions so you guys can get value from what he's doing as well. So yeah, Aidan, first off, just tell us a little bit about your journey. What were you struggling with before joining the WLMA, and what was the biggest aspect that helped you jump from part-time to full-time so quickly?
Right. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, before seeing your Facebook ad, I would say I was completely lost. I was just like every other photographer, just taking pictures, chasing after people, trying to hope that I could book at least something, posting on my Instagram. And I didn't really have a Facebook too big or anything like that. I was trying to mainly focus on Instagram because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. So like all of the work I had done, and I've only been doing weddings for about 4 years now, but I started photography 7 years ago. But all the weddings I've done have been from like just my personal friend group that people I knew who knew. So that's how I got most of my leads. So I had always wondered, I'm like, how are people like booking so consistently and stuff like that? And so when I saw your ad, I jumped on the webinar and I was like, this sounds too good to be true. So I messaged a couple people in the course, and I just got some, I was like, how have you guys done with it? Is it worth it? And because I remember when I had actually done the phone call with you, I had just lost my job back at the beginning of the year. In January, I was laid off because it was just slow. And I didn't have the money to do the course either. So it was a couple months after when I got another job that I was like, I don't want to do something else other than photography now. So I just really made it like a personal, like, this is the year I'm going to do it. I believe Jordan has something great there. So I just jumped with it. I had some money that I saved up from the other job, and then I started here. So my biggest problem beforehand was getting leads, and I had no idea how to do it. And I felt like if I could just get in front of people, I could manage to somehow do it. But I mean, the course just brought in everything that I honestly needed. So I went from being lost to kind of like having a direction of where to go for all of it.
Awesome. Love that. So I've seen you help a lot of students with this. And as you and I have talked, connecting with your leads has seemed to be one of the biggest aspects from turning cold leads to actually booked weddings. So tell us about what you've been doing to connect better with your leads and your community as well.
Right. So one of the biggest things that I kind of found out was like in the beginning parts of the course, it talks about doing like a Venn diagram for finding your ideal client. So when I was going through it, like I did it initially, and then later on I was looking more into it, and I was just like, who do I actually want to be, working with? And so I just asked myself, I think one of the questions you asked, I don't know if you asked this, but like, what was your favorite wedding that you shot? And so when I answered that, I was like, it was my best friend's wedding. So that's when I got the idea. I'm like, I really want to be working with people who I can call my friends, who I can associate with regularly, and who they are comfortable with me. So I really tried to focus down on how I could do that. So I know like the email series that we have in the system is great. I use that. They use it as well, all my leads. But one of the things that I found to be, working out very well is, so I'll just go through kind of the process of what happens is, I have my ad up, people submit through the landing page, and then I get an email when they make a submission. So when they make that submission, I quickly go through, and the way that I have my email series set up is to direct them to my Instagram and my Facebook group on the first email. So usually when I get a lead in that email, right after, I'll see a follow on my Instagram, and then somebody requesting to join my Facebook group for the brides. So when I see those three things, that really tells me somebody who's really interested into it. So there's somebody I'm going to want to contact. Because I will get leads in who don't follow me on Instagram or my Facebook.
Yeah.
So I don't really focus on them as much, but I will get in contact with them. So it's been getting a little bit harder as I've been progressing with this, because I'm getting a lot more leads in than my first campaign. So like this last campaign I ran, I had 80 leads or so, 82 leads that submitted. And what I do is I go and follow all of them back. Everybody who follows me on Instagram, I'll go through their pictures really quick, and I'll see like when they got engaged. I'll like 3 or 4 of their photos. I jump on Facebook. I accept their request to join. I follow them on Facebook, and then I'll search for their groom or their fiance, and then I'll follow the fiance as well. So kind of like the big picture is I want to bombard them in a pleasant way.
Yeah.
I don't want to like throw sales at them right away, because that's not what it's about. I'm just trying to connect with them.
Yeah.
And so once they follow me and all that jazz, then they get notifications. Oh, Aidan just liked 5 of your pictures. Aidan followed you here. And then I text them. They get a text right after. And so the texting has been honestly so great, because it allows me to connect with people if they can't call on the phone. Sometimes I'll just jump on the phone with them after texting them if they have time. And we'll do FaceTime calls just like this, so that I want to get them used to being on like a video chat with me, because later on when we have to do the album viewing, I don't want them to, I have to download Skype, blah, 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 blah. I just get them prepared for that subconsciously, indirectly beforehand. So, I mean, just like texting them, though, gives you so much ability to connect with them, find out about them. They get to know you, and it allows a person to really it allows us, the photographers, to kind of filter out our leads as well, because we get a better sense of who we want to work with through talking to them, rather than just sending them an email and never having them talk to us back.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you want to get a friend, the only way to do that is to get to know the person. So being able to conversate with them regularly is the key to being able to do that.
So usually, you get a lead, they follow like your group on Instagram. Those are the people that you'll friend request, you'll like some of their posts, and you'll try to connect either in text and even FaceTime as soon as possible. And I think that's really important to know, because it pulls you away behind the curtain. It's like, this is a real person. He's actually connecting. He's actually listening to what I have to say. And that initial relationship right there, you're already ahead of the game of all the people that they're looking into as well.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, the last engagement session I did, I was talking to them, and that's another thing too, on part of like connecting with them, is when you actually get to that engagement session with them, I tell them afterwards, I'm like, hey, let's go out for drinks, or let's go out for food or something. I mean, I've had people have me over to their house. People that have booked me had me over their house, or we went out to dinner. Even during the coronavirus, the last one I did, we went out to a restaurant after. We just parked in the parking lot and just put down our windows while we were eating and talking to each other. So there's still like little stuff you can do like that. But no, like you said, it's being able to connect with them that much beforehand helps so much during the engagement session. Because one of the brides, she's like, yeah, I just submitted to the ad because I was like, why not? And your photos looked great. And then all of a sudden you texted me. And I was like, oh, this is like an actual real person.
Yeah.
This wasn't just some like little scam thingy or whatever. So I really appreciated that you reached out to us like as soon as we submitted, because that made a big impression on us.
That is so cool. Love that. And I know one time we were talking, especially when you had sometimes it's so much easier to connect when you are able to actually have those engagement sessions with the couples, especially the ones that you may not get to have the engagement session with. How have you been able to connect with those leads as well?
Right. So, recently I've started, I know like we're still in the middle of the pandemic, but just like this past week, I chose a winner and they were police officers. So I don't know how it is in the other states and stuff like this, but in Florida, they said that as long as our group is less than 5 people and we're staying away from the general public, that we could still do the session and that I should be able to go out and do other sessions. So I started taking that into account, because it has been starting to get a little bit stale with sitting around in the pandemic and stuff. So the winners, I'm telling them that we can arrange for their shoot within the next couple of weeks or so, as long as we keep it here. But before that, man, just honestly, it was texting them, because I kind of keep track of like who was getting my emails when and what I was doing as well. So I would just text them, because the initial text opens it up. They're familiar with you, so if you just send them another text, it's not awkward. So I'd ask them about, did you get that guide that I sent out? What did you guys think of it? Just just ask different questions, or if you wanted to know more about them, ask them about, oh, how'd you guys get to where you are now? What do you do for work? Just anything to keep, because I feel like it's so important to stay in front of them. Because if you start to go away, that they're going to start focusing on other things. So I try really hard to, like, the ones who I connected with initially, the first time, like, really strongly with, I continue to text them. And I mean, there's about 12 of them that I've been talking to regularly. So I feel like those 12, after this whole pandemic, that they're going to turn into bookings, like, right away, just because we're already such good friends.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so, like, with one of them, it was the last engagement session I did, and they didn't have a date or a wedding venue booked yet, because her fiance was going out to the Navy or something, but he got postponed, and so then she texted me, she's like, hey, we might be doing a destination wedding, so, I mean, I might be doing a wedding in France now.
That's awesome.
Where she's from. Yeah, so I was talking to her, I was like, I would be down to go down to France or something like that, like, you know, if you guys want to book me beforehand. I told them kind of like where my package starts at for destination wedding. And so we did the album viewing, and they're going to get back to me.
Excellent. That's super cool. So now I like to ask this question because everyone's always wondering like what people are doing as far as their content and everything. So I guess, you know, what types of content have you been creating via emails and your Facebook group to nurture these leads? What have been topics that you found to resonate the most with a lot of your leads?
So I'm a person who likes to plan ahead for stuff. I like to have plans in mind. So I kind of just based my content off that. So most of the content in my email series is on like planning for your preparation photos is my first one. Another one is, a pretty intensive guide on like, I know we don't try to get too technical with the people because they don't understand photography terms, but it's like planning your lighting for your reception. If you're doing an inside reception or an outside reception, when to have your reception, like from 4 to 6 p.m., whatever, so it's not in the middle of the day. If you're doing it outside, what type of lights to get for your inside reception. So I go through all of that in detail. And then what I did for I have like 15 weeks of emails set up, and I just took a wedding photography timeline, and so like how a normal wedding day would go, and I just broke it up into like, that's how many parts it was, like 13 or 14, and I just chopped up each section, and then I go into detail on each section, and I added some photos so that they can see examples of what I'm talking about, so I can explain it, and then that just goes over for the weeks. So I've talked to people, you know, all my brides, they're like, oh yeah, we love your guides. So everybody that I've been sending them out to, they're enjoying them and using them because who doesn't like wedding planning? And then for the Facebook group, I just try to keep it, you know, I'm going to be honest, my Facebook group isn't as great as it should be.
Yeah.
I see people see my post in there. They just don't really interact too much, but I'm still trying to provide stuff like we've talking about, you know, connecting. So
exactly.
I post some stuff like in my normal life to show them that I'm not just a photographer crazed guy who only talks about weddings and stuff like that. So I'll post like some personal stuff with me and my wife going out or something like that. I'll put up polls in there to ask people. People participate in the polls. And then I'll throw occasional memes and GIFs in there to make people laugh and do it. So, you know.
Yeah, very cool. And I know that a lot of students will kind of ask this as well. I know about like what you do say in like these texts and everything. And you did have an example as well that you wanted to share as well. Can you share that also?
Right, yeah. So I'll kind of go through, let me get this up here. All right. So like this was a bride, her name's Kit, that submitted. And so this is another thing too that like I'm not really focusing on my wedding budget or the stuff like that. So I'm not going to choose winners solely based off of if they have the biggest budget.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I found out that is if you're connecting with these people enough, that when even if they have a lower budget, they can still come up. So I had somebody who was like lower like $1,500 or something like that was their wedding budget. And this isn't them, but I booked them, Noah and Katie, at $2,350. And that's because we just had such a good connection with them. I was talking to Katie a lot. I talked to Noah a lot. And after their engagement session, we bought them dinner. And so it's just really like doing everything that you can do to just really like show these people that you want to be their friend and you're not just after their money. That's the biggest key, is what I feel. So like for example, so what I do is I'll usually, sometimes I send a picture or two of myself so that they can see, but I'll just say, hey, what's up? This is Aidan. How are you? So kind of a key thing that I'm looking for when I'm doing this texting as well is I'm a completely extroverted person, so it's easy for me to talk to people. But if you're an introvert and you find it hard to, hold a conversation, this is a technique that I do. It's just find something that you can relate to with what they said. So she said some luxury of working home, So I was like, yeah, it's pretty nice. Sometimes I take it for granted, but I'm doing great, corona free. So she was happy to hear that. So she didn't really see anything that I could, continue on with that. So I just asked a question: what do you do for work? I'm in the staffing account management now, but a little different route than what I originally thought. So I was like, okay, I don't know anything about staffing or account management. That's way out of my league. So I just decided to, she's like, a different route. So I'm like, okay, what's the original route you're trying to do? So she was nursing. So I said, okay, cool. So, well, hopefully you'll be able to eventually get where you want. So I'm relating to the fact that she had a different route because I also had a different route. I said, I know how it is. I've been doing photography for 7 years, and I look back to the times when I was working other jobs and whatnot at the same time while I was doing this for a side hustle. But fast forward today, now I'm doing it full time, and it's really satisfying. So this is what I'm looking for right here, is a person like this. So she asked me a question. She kind of took hold, and it wasn't just me asking the questions and trying to connect. She is a person that wants to connect with me and wants to know more about me, which is really awesome. So even if you get a person like this, though, you don't want to make it all about yourself. Yeah. So I just gave her a little bit about me, and then I threw it back at her. How about you? You guys moved here recently, so I was going back into the notes. So, like, I'll do a dual screen like this, and I'll bring up let me see here. Kit. I'll bring up their submission so I can see their story while I'm talking to them.
I see.
So I can pull up everything. And that's the other thing, too, is like when you go follow them on Instagram and you follow their Facebook, look through their account. Find out what type of people they are so that you can bring it up in conversation so that they know that you're taking a genuine interest in them. That, again, you're not after their money. You're trying to make friends. That's the biggest thing. So, like, I've seen pictures of people who traveled and stuff like that, so I'll talk about that with them. I'll talk about pretty much anything to just get them more comfortable.
Yeah.
So I'm scrolling back up here.
And so, you're authentically the type of person that loves to connect with people. So you've really found those ideal clients to kind of be the similar type of person as you, And I'm guessing you found, that once you've built that connection, they've often raised their prices as well of what they've.
Right. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, exactly. So when they love you, man, I had a bride, she told me, I can't picture my wedding without you. So
that's awesome.
Literally, that's what she said. She's like, you and your wife aren't my photographers. You're my guest to my wedding. You just happen to be photographing my wedding.
That's amazing.
I'm like, you just get them to love you and connect with them, and then, So I'm just going to, for the sake of time, just going to go through this. But as you can see, we talk a lot. So I talk to them a lot. I asked them, how did you two meet? I want the full story, even though she already gave me a big story here. Like, just tell me more. And that's the thing is, like, I'm looking for, everything in these texts that I can relate to so that she can feel like we relate. Because you might not. You really might not. But if you can find something to make them feel like they do, then that's always good, too. Even if they're not quite the best fit, but they might still be a good fit.
Yeah.
But, so, like, she told me her story going through. I told her my story. That's my wife. So she was like, she knew the backstory between my wife and I. And so we just kept going through here. And then there's a part here that I want to get to. There's two questions that I always ask when I text these brides. So let's see here. So we were talking, she was talking about, do you know anybody that likes to do planning weddings? So I just told her that's what's in my emails, so you'll like that. So she loved that. So here's the part. Once you've connected with them a lot like this in the beginning, then you can go on to the questions that I ask. So the two questions that I do are, how important is this engagement session for you and your fiance, whatever their groom's name is, or what would it mean for you guys if you were to win? So the reason that I ask this question is because I want them to let me know that they value photography or that they like my work. That's why I asked this question.
Yeah.
And so she gave me this answer. And so, she's saying we're not really ones to take pictures of ourselves without others asking, and to know that we could have memories to look back on that is outside of someone asking us would be more special to us as we set the time aside for ourselves, basically.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so she's going to value these pictures. I can give her a free engagement session. I already knew I was going to give her a free engagement at this session when we were talking this much.
Yeah.
But, I look for that if they value photography as one. So later on, I didn't get to talk to her. I sent her some pictures that my wife and I took. She loved them. So the second question then is, other than what we've already discussed or what you've already told me, what drew you to make a submission for the giveaway, or what exactly made you submit? So with this question, I'm trying to entice them to let me know that they like my work. Because if you just ask them, what do you like about my photography? One, you're making it about yourself. Two, you're putting yourself in a state of neediness because you're like, I want you to like my photos. I hope you like my, no, that's not what I'm trying to portray myself as. I'm trying to get you to tell me that you like my work.
Yeah.
So I can keep hold and control of the conversation. So she said, I've been hesitant to even look at getting our pictures done with not knowing dates or anything, knowing if I was going to be a center of attention. So saw an opportunity that could potentially be free and thought this could be it. Let me push my comfort zone and see if we could win. Would be an excuse for us to be selfish and do something for us and actually allow us to be a little more relaxed going into the shoot, knowing someone wants to celebrate us as well. So the other thing that these questions do is they kind of filter out people who are just looking for something for free.
I see.
So like people might like your work and they might value photography, but they also might be cheap, which is there's nothing wrong with that. But you don't want somebody who only wants a free engagement session because they can barely afford their wedding, if that makes sense. So these answers that they give me really help me to determine where they're at mentally.
And if they're a good fit kind of thing.
Yeah, as well as if they're, able to afford my services.
Awesome.
So, I felt really good about her. So while I was talking to her, I just was milking it a little bit more. And then I just decided I was like, I'm going to give her a free session, even though the contest isn't over yet. I'm just going to give it to her. So winning, and then we got on the phone later on. And so, the texting is such a big thing for me because it really helps me filter out the people that I am looking for, and it lets me know of the people who are submitting which of them are actually going to end up working with me and who's worth my time giving the engagement sessions to. Because in Florida, I'm like smack in the middle, and so I advertise about 3 hours in a giant circle around me. And so, that's a pretty long drive, and it doesn't really cost me a lot to go do the session. But if I'm going to go drive out that far, because Kit, she's in Tampa, which is about 2.5 hours to the west of me. It's a pretty long drive, so I don't want to go, drive out that far if they're not going to work with me on their wedding, because then I don't really get anything from it.
Exactly.
But I feel like she's the type of person, because of how much we've connected, that she's just going to want to focus. She feels comfortable with me. So when we go through, after we do their engagement session and we get to their album viewing, I feel like she's going to be one of the ones who, she has a pretty decent budget, but she can probably afford more.
Yeah.
Okay. She also stated that she's like, you know, that she said even if we don't win the free engagement session, we would still like to do a shoot with you, because it's not like we don't have the money for it, but we just want to make sure that, you know, we're getting somebody who wants to celebrate us too and who we're comfortable around.
Yeah,
so I know that they have some money and stuff like that, so awesome. I could get them through albums and stuff.
And for the students watching as well, one thing I think that's really important, like if you're looking at this kind of learning and seeing what Aidan's doing, you know, if the texting and stuff is something that you want to do, make it work authentically for you, that works for you, and that this concept can work in all different kinds of forms as well, not even just text. It could be even those types of discussions that you may have in your Facebook group, having people actually reply, you know, it's nothing to do about a sale, but reply to maybe a call to action that maybe you have, or a question you ask in emails. And so you can have a little bit of that back and forth too. So, because the thing is, what I've learned, when a prospect sees that you're like listening and that like you care beyond just like the business aspect of things, that's when they really gravitate towards you. And I think this is super awesome to see that connection and help them when you connect with them, for them that perceived value of your work and everything goes up as well.
You know, yeah, I used to do roofing sales last year, and one of the things that I learned from the sales system that we learned was when you're reaching out to a potential client, every client is going to have a wall of ice because they don't want to be sold to. Nobody wants to be sold to.
So true.
And so with the thing with the roofing sales, it was kind of different, but basically they would say you need to melt their wall of ice. And so when I think about it, I'm like, what is more, you know, if you have a wall of ice, what's more warm than being friendly and bubbly with somebody and being nice to them? What's going to lower their guard the most, other than like being a friend? When you're with a friend, you're more relaxed, you're more comfortable, you're more just, you know, you're not thinking about anything. Mm-hmm. You're not thinking that they're going to screw you over or anything like that. So I took that technique kind of from the sales system, and I've been incorporating it into with your techniques as well as my personality.
Yeah.
And that's a big key thing, is like, for the students who are watching this, you know, Jordan gives us the basics and I call it the backbone. And, you know, it's kind of like taking, you gave me this illustration, Jordan, but like if you have a water bottle, I would say your water bottle is your business, and you're trying to fill it up with, if it's raining outside. So you have your business set, you have your ways, you have everything that you know, and you're trying to go out and get all these people, and it's not going to work too well because you just have a tiny hole on the top. And so with Jordan's system, we get a giant funnel and we just put it on there and it fills up way faster. And that's the thing, is like, for the people who are watching, you know, you have to figure out how to merge the two of them to your business.
Yes.
Because you can't just follow the course step by step. Like, you'll get results, but it won't be as effective as if you make it your own. Because that's really what your brand is. That's what, you know, your company is it's you. As a photographer, your company is you. People will hire you for you rather than just for your photos. Your photos are an additive, but they're looking for somebody who they can trust, who they're going to connect with, and who that when it comes to their wedding day, they're not going to have to worry about it. And that afterwards, you know, they're going to have what I would like to say, a lifetime friend. So just really focusing on how to take everything that Jordan gives us and be able to conform it to our business and use what works for us, because not everything's going to work for the same people. We all have different markets. We have different people that we're reaching out to. We're all different people. So like Jordan, I would say you're a fine art wedding photographer. I would say that's you. But for me, like I put in my ad, I'm like, people who are looking for a dramatic, cinematic, and creative portraits, something like that. And that's kind of what I based my style off of, the way I edit and everything like that. And when you make those changes too, I found out that the people that you're reaching out to, you're, like you say in the course, you're gonna resonate with them. You're gonna get the type of people you want in when you make those tiny changes, rather than just following it word by word. So, you know, take Jordan's course and just make it your own while still following, I would like to call them, the principles. So
yes.
That's a big thing that, you know,
it's important. That way you don't get robotic with it, you know. You kind of mold it to in a flexible way that works authentically with your brand, your personality, all that kind of stuff. So it comes authentic to the prospect as well. And so, I wanted to bring in this stuff. This is something that we talked about a while ago as well. And, especially if you guys are getting these leads and you're having trouble melting that ice, this is something I feel like that could be so important, especially if you're running Facebook groups and everything. You could do weekly Q&As with your groups. It could be live, it could be one-on-one. And that way, it's not about the sale at this point. You're being that high value leader. You're just helping them out with their wedding. You're melting that ice. So by the time it's time for them to make that decision, to inquire, they already have built that relationship with you, just kind of like what you're doing with the text and everything. So now, this is a really important question I wanted to ask, So what is a tip that you can give the students to, one, get more leads, into those album viewings, and how can they get better results with the album viewing consultations as well?
To get people in there, so for me, my process is based off of the fact that they're already, like I told you, I'm kind of training them in a sense. When I first get them, I'm texting them, I'm talking to them regularly. So after the engagement session, I will set it up usually right then and there once I'm done. I say, I'm going to get these photos to you in 2 days, because that's how long it takes me to edit my photos. And I'm like, and then after that, we're going to set up a call like we did right before this session, because I do a call with them. So I'll text them, and usually I'll get them into a call, and then I'll do another call for their engagement session. Then we'll do a album viewing call. And then if I book them, I'll do 3 more calls with them later on to get all the details sorted out for their wedding. So the amount of calls I do, it's kind of like getting them used to the fact that they need to make a call. And they see the importance of it as well. Because I see a lot of students say, I can't get people into my album viewings. People ghost me and all this stuff. So just with how I do it and how much interaction I'm having with them, it's almost normal for me to just text them and be like, yo, what's up? When are you guys good for your engagement session? Because we're already at that level of friendship where I can just text them regularly.
Yeah, you can text, you can call, they expect it kind of thing.
Yep. Or email too. I've emailed people, and I've actually started doing a new thing where I have a Calendly link, or it's my honey book, but it's like Calendly, and I'll email the winners that one. Because I'm not choosing just one winner either. I'm choosing as much winners as I feel is appropriate that I've connected with. That way it increases my odds of how many weddings I can book. But I'll email them as well. And usually they'll they'll claim their engagement session and set up a time with me, because I have my times listed out. If I sent an email and nobody's responded, like I said, I'm already at that level. I can text them. Or I started calling them as well, and I'll leave them a voicemail. If I try to reach out to them 3 times and they don't claim it, then I, just let it go. But I am being considerate now. Everybody has to be considerate of this time that we're in right now, because things are different than how they normally would be. I had one girl, she never got back to me. And then out of nowhere, she texted me. She's like, hey, I'm so sorry I never got back to you. It's just been really rough. So I was like, don't worry about it. Is everything okay? I'm just like, is everything okay? Her mom was about to be passing because she was in the hospital, or her stepmom. So she had been in the hospital. So I was like, I'm so sorry. If there's anything I can do for you guys, let me know. I even asked for the mom's name so I could I'll keep her in my prayers. And, your engagement session, keep it. It's good for whenever you guys are ready. And so she really, really appreciated that.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard back from her yet, but I was planning on, soon going to text her to see how things are going, because I know it's going to be a hard time for them. So just be there for the people. And then, back to, the question. I know I'm getting a little bit off track. But just the key thing, the biggest tip is to connect. If you connect with your leads, you're not going to have an issue getting them into an album viewing. And when you're in the album viewing, a big thing for, getting people to kind of book, I would say, is in-person sales is so big with what we do. I had to do in-person sales when I was doing the roofing sales, so I have some techniques that I'm bringing in from there, but I'm also merging it with Jordan stuff. Guys, get your album on point when you're choosing your images and everything like that, don't just choose your favorite images. Choose images that you feel would like hold a story.
Yeah.
That people will connect to. Because what I started to notice is the more album viewings I'm doing, I just took a whole bunch of images that I liked and I thought were going to be good. And I've seen some people that, you know, have different tastes. So you want to make sure that you have an all general prospect album that can tailor to everybody's taste. Because one thing that we did in roofing sales was we would ask the person, you know, oh, what made you decide to buy from me today? And they'd be like, instant guard. What are you talking about? We're not buying from you. And then we would ask the question, oh, really? What makes you say that? And the reason for asking that question was to get a list of the reason why they were not buying from me today, so that when I went into my PowerPoint, aka your album viewing, you could address everything that they just said to ease their pains and melt that ice.
Yes.
Because if they say, so like your two questions that you have in your script for the album viewing is, okay, what is most important to you on your wedding day, or what would you not like to see on your wedding day? So when they're telling you that stuff, write it all down, because in your mind, you should already know your album viewing, so you can pick a picture to go hard on and explaining.
Yeah.
What they do is they'll tell me what they like, what they don't like, and I'll be like, oh, okay, so now I'm going to walk you guys through a wedding day with me, and I'll open up the slides, and then I'll go through. And if they told me something like, oh, you know, we really want our first kiss, or we're doing a first look or something like that, I'll be like, okay, guys, here's the first kiss. You can see how I'll explain how I got the shot of their first kiss and how to make sure that it was clear, make sure there's no distractions in there, and I kind of explain how I do it. And then I have a first look in my album, so I go through the first look, and I tell them all the reasons why first look is so great and how I do a first look and all this so that they can get comfortable. It's like they're already imagining their wedding day while they're doing the album viewing with you. So it's selling them already so hard on there. So I love the album viewing because it's like, without it, I don't think you would be able to book as much people as you would be able to.
It's so true. Like I always say that like you increase just the conversion so much. One, just getting that chance to meet up with them. But when you have that process in the album viewing, just it takes them through the right path emotionally. And one thing that you're saying before is, you know, like even with the album that I've shown couples, it's not necessarily like my best work. It's one with the best stories. Right. And because I want to be able to tell stories that make them laugh, tell stories that they're going to relate to, be like, oh, I want that. Because that's what they want. They want the experience. And if I can explain this experience this couple went through, boom, it's done. And one that hit another point that you talked about is about getting them into the album viewing. So you've found that when you can connect to them way before and they build that relationship before, getting that album viewing is easy at that point when you ask for it.
Yeah, it's almost effortless. It's because they're used to it. So because you've already done it with the engagement session consultation is what I call it. So when they win, I'm like, all right, guys, set up your engagement consultation. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go through all the details. I'm gonna get to learn more about you. Because like I don't connect with everybody as much as I did with Kit, the example I showed before. So if they're either busy or something like that, then I'll use the engagement session phone call as a time to get to know them both better, because the room is also there as well. But like at that point, it's like they're excited to do their engagement session, and then once you do the engagement session, they're very excited, or hopefully they are. You know, just if you do it right after and don't wait, like you suggested, I took that point and I started using it. Like right after you do your photos, I just tell them, I'm like, all right, guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go home. I'm going to start editing these photos. We're going to be done in 2 days. Then after that, we're going to set up a call to, I'm skipping myself. If you ask them first, do you want to talk more about your wedding? And then I say all this to talk more about your wedding. And then they'll be like, yeah, that sounds great. So then as I'm editing too, I'll be sending them like 1 or 2 pictures to get them excited for it. And I'll keep talking to them. I'll keep texting them, you know, keep them really enticed with you. And then usually like I don't wait longer than a week to do the album viewing after I've done the engagement session. That's another thing that I should know. Don't wait any longer than a week because you don't want that fire.
Yes, the sooner the better. Keep that excitement and that fire burning and everything.
Yeah, yeah. So that's one of the biggest, keys is that connection, then going through everything and just keep talking to them, keep their attention on you, and it'll be easier to get people into the album viewing and then to do the album viewing itself as well.
Really important. So now, you've been able to get results pretty quick and everything as well. So this is a important question. So do you believe, I guess, that mindset is an important aspect in results, and if so, why?
Absolutely. If you do not have your mindset, like, I'll kind of go into it. So I've been guilty of this, like this past week. My mindset has been kind of going down because of Corona and everything. So I've just been playing video games and stuff like that. But then I had somebody reach out to me and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I should be putting more time back into this, And so I really just looked at myself real quick, and even when I started this course, it was like I changed my mind. I'm like, this is what you got to do. Be prepared. It's going to be a crap load of work, but you got to do it. You have to do it. So if your mindset isn't set in the right spot, you're not going to have the motivation to follow through with what you're doing, and you're not going to have, the sensibility to make the right choices for what you need to do. Because if you're not focused on what you're doing, you're going to let stuff slide, you're going to let stuff slip, and you're going to forget about stuff, and you're not going to be as effective as you could be if you don't have the mindset. And that's going back into one of your previous questions of me jumping full-time into this. Technically, after I started this course, it was only 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks before I decided, because I did a call with you, and then I was talking to one of the students, and I was like, in order for me to be able to make this business succeed, I have to be able to give my all to it. And I can't do that with splitting my mind with another job, and doing this. So at that point, when I saw my first 30 leads come in, because before I started the course, I was getting maybe 5 or 7 leads a year.
Yeah.
I had 30 leads in 1 week. I think it was 6 days. I was like, this is real. I need to jump on this, because if I don't, I'm never going to do it. I literally said, it's now or never, Aidan. You got to do this. So I talked to my wife. I was like, if it crashes and falls in 3 months, I'll go get another job. But at least I would like to try this 90 days that Jordan's been talking about. She said, yeah, we can hold out for 90 days or 3 months or whatever. And then, after I did that, dude, I booked literally an engagement session every weekend for the month of March. I did all my engagement session, or not all of them. I still have 2 more to do from that first campaign. But out of the 5 sessions I did, I had all 5 booked. So that's 100% conversion rate. And
that's
at
amazing.
that point, I was just I would not have been able to do this if I was still at my other job, because I put in my 2 weeks, I worked the weeks, but then once I got home and I was able to just sit here and focus on everything, my mindset was even better, because I didn't have to focus on the other job and all the distractions and everything. Because even when I was at that job, my mind was always on this. It was always trying to do this. So it was kind of frustrating too. If you're working 2 jobs, it can kind of tear you apart in a sense.
Yeah.
So just being able to focus everything on it is huge, because
you get rid of that safety net, and you have no choice but to go all in and do it.
yeah, basically it's I have no other job. And so I feel like really mindset is a huge part of it, and if you don't have your mindset correct, I think one of the things you said was if you can't get your mindset right, then you shouldn't even be in business. You said something along the lines of that.
Yeah, and this is what I've seen is if you even allow a little bit of skepticism or doubt, you've already allowed your mind to choose not to see the opportunity. It's done. It's over. You can't even build the business. And I see this all the time. Even sometimes in the group, I'll see the same people, literally, they see something negative and it's the same, they keep gravitating towards it. And you've already chosen not to see the opportunities. And that's why I always say, building a business is literally 50% the work, 50% mindset, with the strategy and everything as well. But yeah, I love that as well. And love that you're able to share that and relate with that as well. So now also, go ahead.
I want to share one more thing in regards to that. How strong your mindset is really important too. Because for me, I was so hungry for this that even the people, like when you get submissions, guys, people who are submitting that say they already have a photographer, I'm even texting and talking to those people because I'm like, I want to know why you have a photographer. Like, what's going on? Like, why'd you submit if I clearly state that you can't have a photographer?
Yeah.
And dude, one of the weddings I'm about to book was because they stated they had a photographer, but after talking through her, it was just her venue provides a photographer for 2 hours. But
yes.
She wants full day coverage for the preparation, ceremony, and reception. So I was talking to her, I'm like, you know, we were connected really very intimate. I'm like, oh, this is my type of person. Like, they love to go out dancing and partying and stuff like I do. So I was like, we were talking, I'm like, why don't you just ask the venue if you can opt out of the photographer and say you can just book me? Because she reached out to book me. Like, she's like, I know we haven't even done the engagement session yet, but I just want to hopefully talk to you about your pricing and packages so we can just book you officially already. And I was like, shoot, all right.
Yeah.
So even the people who have a photographer and stuff like that, if you get a lot of leads in that, I know it can be discouraging, but even those people, I'm filtering through and finding like little hidden gems. So with your mindset being so strong, if you just want to put in the work and you can put it in, do it, and you'll get results.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing example. Sometimes they may say they have a photographer just because they're scared to be sold to. Literally, like I don't want him to reach out to me and sell to me. I'm just gonna say I have a photographer. So you can't always assume with these kind of things, even with budget. Sometimes it's because they just don't know better. You know, like how much is wedding photography supposed to cost? So often, you know, get rid of those assumptions. Focus on nurturing, building those connections, so you can get those sales, increase those prices as well. And yeah, so now also, Aidan, what is one piece of advice that you have for the students in the program to get more results as well?
Honestly, like even for veterans, I found myself doing this. I'm not a veteran. I've only been here for 2.5 months or something. But for people who have been in this course longer than me and the new ones coming in, I think I talked about it a little bit already, but go over the course again. Go through the course, regularly find out how you can better meld the course into your business. Because once you're able to make this, like you make the course the base, and then your business comes up around it. And if you can just figure out how to really make your brand, like you say, isn't your website or any of that stuff. It's just who you are as a person. If you can, make that mark of when they hear the business name, they relate it to you as a person. I feel like that is a big, big piece of it, because when people think of my business, they know that it's going to be Aidan who talks to them and connects with them, and that's my friend.
Exactly.
So really bunker down, go through the course, find out which areas that you can fine-tune your business to be incorporated with the course in pretty much every aspect, so that everything just flows smoother. Because if you have something that's disrupting it somewhere, you're not going to get the results that you want to see. And the only way to do it as well, guys, is you have to test and you have to try different things. Like my ads, I've run about 24 different ads, and I've only, you're only supposed to do one campaign a month. So technically I should have only run like 4 ads. I've done 24 different ads with different photos, different word copies. I've changed my whole website over by myself. I'm going to be talking to somebody soon about getting the rest of my website revamped.
Yeah.
But like the wording on my site, the pictures I'm using on my site, everything, guys, just go through it all and really make sure that it reflects who you are.
Good.
Because if it doesn't reflect you, if they can't connect your business with you, there's going to be a disconnect there, and that's not what we want. We want to keep a good connection with them to, go through the whole process. So that would be a big tip, is just really making sure that everything's fine-tuned to make it your own. If you have some bit in there that applies to you that you don't need to change, that's fine.
Yes.
But if there's some bits in there that, you're just doing it because Jordan told you to do it, don't be a mindless robot.
Yes.
Be a human being, because that's what people want, is a human being taking photos of their wedding.
One aspect I want to hit there that's really important, because even when it comes to ads, it's an algorithm, all that kind of stuff, but literally everyone has a different relationship with their ads manager. And so what I'm teaching you guys, it is the core. Get that to work first. But once you've proven that to work, test, build that relationship, because everyone's in a different area. Everyone has different demographics. Everyone has a different brand and different work. So learn and test and build that relationship with your ads manager. Like it's kind of like building that relationship with your brand and your leads. Even though this ads manager is like more this robotic analytical thing, the more you test and you more experiment, you'll build that relationship, and you almost build, I don't even know how to explain it. You'll build that intuition with your ads manager. Like that's how I feel with it. Like I spent so much money, properly spent money on ads, and like I know like my ads manager like the back of my hand. And so think about that, guys, as well as you continue running these ads, and pay attention to your numbers and what's happening in your area. Awesome. This was super helpful, Aidan, and people are going to get a lot of value from this as well. So one thing I wanted to mention as well, Aidan and a lot of the students, twice a week, they've been leading out Q&As and just kind of masterminds for all you guys as well, student-led and everything. So make sure you guys hop in those. They're adding a lot of value there. But where else can students find you, Aidan?
I'm on Instagram, Facebook. You can find me in any one of those. If anybody has any questions or anything, that's another thing is like the course is so great, but guys, like our community here is unlike any other.
Yes.
I feel like this community is priceless. If you're scared or you don't know what the heck you're doing, go on the Facebook group and post. Somebody will help you. The only reason I've been as successful as I am is because of my drive, my mindset, but also because of the amount of people that have helped me. I can't say that my success. My success is only solely on me. It is literally from a lot of the people that I've made friends with in this community who have helped me out and gave me pointers and tips on this. So like, credit's due to you guys. You know who you are. But like, just definitely use the community because it's priceless. It's absolutely priceless.
Perfect. No, it's so true. And so also, guys, I'm going to be posting this in the group as well. Feel free to ask Aidan questions in the comments below as well that he can answer whenever he has a chance. Well, thank you, Aidan, so much. This was so good. And
thank you.
Yeah, we'll talk soon.
All right. You have a good day, Jordan.